Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open biology's ultimate cold cases. We're looking at 6 incredible animals that science has officially pronounced dead, but which might just be hiding in plain sight. We're going to dig into the evidence, the sightings, and the biology to see if these vanished creatures are actually still walking, swimming, or flying right alongside us. So let's dive right into this massive question. When a species is declared extinct, is it truly permanently gone? Well, science tells us maybe not. Throughout history, there have been several crazy instances where species we considered long dead suddenly popped up again. In biology, this is sometimes called the Lazarus effect. Species seemingly coming back from the dead. In this explainer, we'll walk through the hard data and historical records of 6 extraordinary animals whose extinction status is being seriously questioned today. Section 1. The island apex predators. Islands are these unique, isolated ecosystems, which makes them the absolute perfect setting for our first cold case. Let's look at the tragic timeline of the Zanzibar leopard. This was a highly mysterious species found on Unguja Island, just off the coast of Africa. For thousands of years, this leopard ruled the small island as the undisputed apex predator. But then, a strange and honestly fatal belief spread among the locals. People started believing these weren't ordinary animals at all, but rather creatures controlled by witches or beings that brought severe bad luck. As those rumors caught fire, a massive hunting campaign was launched to eradicate them, a campaign actually supported by the local government at the time. Their population just plummeted, and around 1990, the Zanzibar leopard was officially declared extinct. But here is where the story takes a wild twist. Fast forward to 2018. During the filming of an Animal Planet documentary, a camera trap captured something that completely shocked the scientific community. We're talking footage of an animal that looks remarkably like the supposedly extinct Zanzibar leopard. Now, while some authorities and experts haven't completely confirmed the footage, wildlife explorer Forrest Galente, who captured the video, has strongly defended it. And he's known for his meticulous work in raising awareness about extinct animals, which leads a lot of people to believe he wouldn't just make a claim like that without solid reason. So, did a small population actually manage to survive those witch hunts? It's a huge debate that is tearing through the biology world right now. Okay, to understand our next island mystery, we really have to look at scale. About 90 million years ago, Madagascar split from India, creating this secluded haven for totally unique species like lemurs. Now, modern lemurs, our primate relatives, are mostly small, tree-dwelling creatures. But historically, Madagascar was home to the Archaeoindris. And this wasn't your average, cute little lemur. It had a heavy body structure and was roughly the size of a modern-day gorilla. However, shortly after humans arrived in Madagascar, things took a pretty dark turn for these giants. By around 350 BCE, they were considered completely extinct. But picture this for a second. Imagine walking through a remote Madagascar forest and locking eyes with a lemur the size of a silverback. Theoretically, it is possible. If human hunting drove them to the brink, a small group could have retreated deep into Madagascar's most rugged, remote, and dangerous forests. Adding a ton of weight to this theory are numerous claims from modern explorers and locals who report seeing an unknown, massive creature that perfectly matches the physical description of the Archaeoindris. And this right here is exactly why scientists keep an open mind. There's a strong precedent. The greater bamboo lemur was also once declared completely extinct, only to be astonishingly rediscovered, alive and well in 1986. Section 2. Giants of the Deep Tropics. Shifting our focus over to the dense, dark, tropical rainforests, we know for a fact that massive reptiles once ruled here. In the Gujarat region of India, fossils of Vasuki indicus from 47 million years ago show a snake so incredibly massive that its length is basically comparable to a modern small mobile tower. Meanwhile, in the Amazon, roughly 58 million years ago, the legendary titanoboa slithered through the jungle. We are talking about a snake essentially the size of a city bus. The scale of these creatures is almost impossible to wrap your head around when you compare them to the snakes we see today. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, there is absolutely no way a snake that big could hide today. But just recently, in 2024, scientists scientifically identified a highly unusual and remarkably large population of northern green anacondas. This recent development proves a very important point. In environments as vast and impenetrable as the Amazon or the Congo, giant reptiles successfully evading human detection is not entirely impossible. These jungles still hold massive biological secrets. And this vast, uncharted wilderness brings us to a staggering number: 100 feet. During World War II, a pilot flying over the Congo rainforest captured an aerial photograph that has basically fueled debate ever since. Right in the middle of the jungle, the image shows this incredibly long snake-like shape. When researchers analyzed the location using satellite mapping and compared the object to nearby landmarks, they estimated its length to be between 30 and 35 meters. That means it was well over 100 feet long. Now, we definitely need to impartially note that there is no official scientific confirmation of this photograph, but it sure does make you wonder what could be down there. Section 3. Vanishing water dwellers. Let's transition from the jungles over to our world's waterways. The Caribbean monk seal used to thrive all across the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, and the surrounding tropical islands. They had this incredibly docile, calm nature and were entirely unafraid of humans. Unfortunately, that temperament was their absolute biggest vulnerability. Once sailors and fishermen encountered them, a relentless slaughter began. They were aggressively hunted for their fat to make oil, they were killed for meat, and in some areas, fishermen simply eradicated them because they viewed the seals as pests competing for their fish. By the 1900s, sightings became incredibly rare, which led to an official extinction declaration in 2008. But this case is far from closed. The Caribbean Sea is dotted with remote islands and coastal areas that humans rarely ever visit. In these isolated pockets, local fishermen still report seeing seal-like creatures that perfectly match the description of the monk seal. The real challenge here, and what's so fascinating about this marine environment, is getting confirmation. I mean, if a seal breaches the water for just a few seconds from a distance, it is incredibly hard to verify. Setting up and maintaining camera traps in the open ocean is vastly more difficult than just tying a camera to a tree in a forest. Because of these persistent sightings, a small pod might just be holding on out there in the deep waters. Moving across the globe to Japan, we find the Japanese river otter. This otter used to hunt fish in rivers and coastal wetlands, living in densely vegetated riverbanks. But their downfall was swift, and it was entirely brought on by human progress. Japan's rapid modernization led to the destruction of their natural habitats. Rivers were heavily developed, severe water pollution completely poisoned their food sources, and uncontrolled hunting decimated their numbers. The last officially confirmed sighting of the Japanese river otter was back in 1979, and by 2012, it was officially declared extinct. Yet, even with that 2012 declaration, rumors absolutely persist in Japan's most remote natural river areas. People claim to have seen long-bodied animals swimming near riverbanks, and some have even reported finding fresh footprints and droppings. Scientists, however, urge a lot of caution here. Japan has introduced other non-native otter species over the years, and feral animals can sometimes look really similar from a distance. Because the evidence so far is of pretty low quality, it's impossible to confirm. But hey, if a small group of Japanese river otters has survived, it would undeniably be in these untouched human-free zones. Section 4. Forest phantoms and open mysteries. Now let's enter the dense swamp forests of North America to search for a true avian phantom. The ivory-billed woodpecker is arguably one of the most iconic and rare birds in the world. It is instantly recognizable by its large size, a striking black and white feather pattern, and of course, its namesake light ivory-colored beak. They thrived in those thick North American swamps, but as the 1900s rolled in, aggressive logging and widespread deforestation wiped out the old-growth trees they desperately needed for nesting. As their habitat vanished, so did the bird, leading to an eventual extinction consensus. And this bird sits right at the center of one of the fiercest debates in modern biology today. Since the year 2000, there have been multiple claims of sightings, accompanied by unique audio recordings and blurry video footage. Now, scientists are heavily divided. Skeptics are quick to point out that the ivory-billed looks incredibly similar to the pileated woodpecker, which is a very common species that is frequently the source of visual misidentification. However, other researchers completely reject that theory. They argue that the specific audio patterns recorded in the swamps, along with the distinct flight styles observed, align much closer to the ivory-billed than the pileated. So it remains a heavily contested, wide-open mystery. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider this. Roughly 95% of places like the Congo rainforest remain completely untouched by modern science. If our planet still holds expanses that wild, that remote, what else is hiding in the unexplored shadows? Nature is incredibly resilient, and maybe, just maybe, extinct might just mean hidden. So keep your eyes open out there. You never know what might be looking right back at you.